The Wild Robot is an absolute masterclass of storytelling that fully commits to one of the most ambitious character-driven emotional stories to ever be put into animation, hell, even put into film. And yet the craziest part about it is, it's a Dreamworks movie. So what happens when you take the most advanced piece of human machinery, give it amnesia, and leave it stranded alone in the middle of the woods to learn how to fend for itself against the cruel, unforgivable death trap that is Mother Nature? Well, you get a beautiful story about a robotic protagonist who learns how to go against its programming to find meaning and purpose in itself beyond just solving trivial tasks for some lazy human. This movie focuses on some heavy-ass themes, like what it means to be alive, what's our purpose, that life is more than just surviving. And these are all the lessons learned of what's supposed to be a cold, unfeeling machine. Sure, this may technically be an animated family movie about talking animals, but it's damn near the most emotionally mature ones out there, and I absolutely loved it. Easily one of my new favorite movies of all time. Chris Sanders really hit it out of the park with this one. Some of his previous works being Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon, he really seems to love telling stories of oddball creatures finding unconventional families. It's like a story he's been trying to tell for years, but studios up to this point have just found it too risky. Even the original concept of Lilo and Stitch started out as an alien finding himself stranded in a wild forest on Earth, before some other Disney minds convinced him the story needed a young girl for viewers to relate to. Which is fine, I mean, that's how most of these stories play out, right? If your movie's about an oddball creature in a normal world, you give him a normal character to play off of for the audience to relate to. Think E.T., The Iron Giant, Home, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, Puff the Magic Dragon. So one of the biggest risks involved with this project is the omission of that relatable everyman character, leaving it up to a cold, unfeeling robot programmed to do nothing but completing trivial tasks, the responsibility of carrying the entire emotional weight of the story. And it pays off. At the beginning of the film, Roz the robot is treated as this mysterious future tech product washed ashore on a wild island, leaving the nature surrounding them to be what's familiar to the viewer while the protagonist has to learn to adapt. And watching as this walking Amazon Alexa goes from menacing the animals by advertising itself as an answer to all of life's problems to becoming the mother of an abandoned gosling, you become more attached to this character throughout the film as it learns how to not only survive in this new unfamiliar territory, but come to understand and appreciate what's truly most valuable in life. And sure, you might be thinking, a robotic protagonist who's ironically extremely relatable through human characteristics? You've basically just described WALL-E. But whereas WALL-E is more about an existential dread towards a grim future for humanity if we don't get our shit together, The Wild Robot focuses on entirely different themes like where one truly belongs, family, personal purpose, and compassion being a survival instinct. It actually goes out of its way to be less comparable to WALL-E. This may take place in the future, but we barely get a glimpse at what this human world that Roz came from actually looks like, because we don't need to. It's not what this story's about. WALL-E can be the safe story about a cute robot who falls in love with another robot in space, because the Wild Robot is the one who learns to adapt to the harsh environments of nature while questioning and reevaluating their very existence. But as you may have noticed, that's where the biggest risk in this project truly lies. One of these movies is far more marketable than the other, and appealing to children, arguably your target audience for an animated family movie. And for being a family movie, this definitely caters more towards the emotionally mature side of your audience, such as adults, which in one way is great. Adult representation in animation is heavily undervalued in the West, but in another way, it could also make for a boring snooze fest to a young kid who's not emotionally mature enough to relate to these kinds of internal conflicts. It is a Dreamworks movie, after all, and therein lies the problem here. What the f even is a Dreamworks movie anymore? How can you expect your audience to anticipate and appreciate such artistic integrity in your movies to make a story so heavily focused on mature themes when your last movie was f***ing Trolls World Tour?
Because singing killed my grandma, okay?
One movie's about a farting talking baby who makes poop jokes, and the next is a master class in emotional storytelling? It's like, pick a lane here, people. Dreamworks is trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want to appeal to both the Minions crowd and release Oscar bait in the same year. It's confusing. What are we supposed to expect when we go to see a Dreamworks movie? Because I'll tell you one thing, the fans of Boss Baby Back in Business are not coming to your movies expecting to bawl their eyes out. Yeah, I guess their movies have a consistent theme of being children's book adaptations, but I feel like these kinds of movies end up leaving DreamWorks in a serious identity crisis where the only consistency across all their movies is that they're animated and technically appropriate for all ages. It's like one day they're pissing off Disney by satirizing fairy tales, and the next day they're adapting a fucking Bible story. I guess my only concern here is that The Wild Robot is able to find the right audience, because it really is a beautiful story that deserves the budget and resources of a huge studio like DreamWorks, but one can only hope the same studio is also capable of treating it with the respect it deserves when they're simultaneously greenlighting a second season of Megamind Rules. I guess realistically, you're gonna need a few boss babies and troll movies with their broad appeal and marketability to even have the financial opportunity to fund a passion project like this. Since, as much as I loved this movie, it's probably not about to make as much money as the next Minions. So major props to DreamWorks for agreeing to make this amazing film in the first place. I can't wait to see what comes out of DreamWorks next. Anyone else getting hyped for Shrek 5? Because DreamWorks has been pulling some major wins recently. If it's anywhere near as good as The Last Wish, this could seriously be the start of a DreamWorks Renaissance era. Or maybe they'll just make more Boss Baby.